In this video, I'm going to talk about your shading exercise for Foundations Art. What you're going to do for this is, the directions right at the top are going to say to apply a variety of lines to create form and texture. So for this, we're creating the illusion of form, and we're going to use that to create texture as well. Now the first thing you want to do is have a few different materials out. So you can have some pens, some pencils, a marker, things like that. So have a few different materials out so that you can create different types of texture and form, the illusion of form for these different boxes here. Now you'll see that there are a number of boxes and each one's going to be different. And then you can also pick, so there's a few different options within it. You're going to pick which one of these sheets you're going to complete. Each of these is going to have this already drawn outline for you. So what you're going to do is you want to think about how you can create the illusion of form. Remember that that is going to make it look like it's three-dimensional. So what we're trying to do is we're going to try to create what would look like in real life. Now, I want you to try some different materials out. Try perhaps cross-hatching. So I'm just going to do some really bold, thick cross-hatching here. And I'm going to move my way around the whole thing. So I want you to keep working on something like that. You can add some extra lines here. Give it some extra depth. So think about where you want those lines to be. What's going to create the best depth and what's going to create the best illusion of form. Remember to be conscious, where is your light source? Where is the light coming from for this? You can also use something like stippling. So remember we talked about stippling is just dots, where we would put just dots, and the more dots closer together we have, the more it's going to look like that's a deeper shadow. So if you want a darker shadow in one area, you're going to put those lines much closer together, those dots much closer together. So we would just keep doing that. So see if you can do that. Underneath, I'm going to put what I did. So stippling, and this would be cross-hatching. And then you can try different pens. So you can try the same method. So maybe you want to try cross-hatching again, but you're going to try that with a pencil. So see what happens when you use a pencil. Does that give you a different effect? So is that going to be more of the effect of something that you like? Is that how you would prefer that it looks? Because different types of medium, different types of materials are going to give it a different look. So try out that. Try out the cross-hatching using the pencil, or try it out stippling. You can also try just shading. So, we could use a pencil for this. So just creating just a general blended shading there. And you can blend those lines with your hands, so you can get a nice blend on that. If you would prefer to use a pencil stub, you can do that. That's just a blending stub. It's just a piece of rolled up paper. You can use tissue, like Kleenex. That works as well to do it. So think about where you want those lines and where you want those shadows. Use your eraser to clean up your shadows as you're working on that. Do we want a lot of shadows in this one? So keep working on that, and then keep getting some different. See how it changes the shape too. The ways that your shadows come in. Does it change the way that the nose looks? Does it change the shape of it? It's something to consider whenever you're working on your projects. What kind of shapes do you want your nose to have? You can also use colored markers. So perhaps you wanted to try colored markers. You can do some sort of shading to create the illusion of 3D using different materials. You can combine. So maybe I'm going to use this with very horizontal lines. Just to try that out, give a little experiment there. Try a couple different ideas out. So try to do some horizontal lines like that, and maybe I'll use a different pen for the other lines. So just try out some different stuff. Try out some different methods. See what works. One of these is not necessarily going to be better than another. So think about how you want to do this to get the best look. And then when you're done, make sure that you do title down below what you did to show that you know what that's called. So we're going to keep going. So you're going to keep going until you get the whole way across with one of the sheets. Remember, you can pick whichever sheet you want to do. So if you wanted to do the sheet with the mouths on it, do the one with the mouths on it. So again, you're going to do the same thing. Going to add those lines and create that shading. And if I'm going to do crosshatching here again, I'm going to write crosshatching underneath. And I want you to try to get some that have really bold. And some maybe that have a little bit more subtle. So think about what's the best way to do your shading for this one. So if you're using a big thick marker, you can do that as well. Look at the difference between the two different effects that you get just using two different types of markers. You can use a ballpoint pen. Anything that makes a mark you can do this experiment with. And remember that when you're doing something that's curved, often you want to keep your lines along with the curve. So you can see that this has a curve to it since it's a mouth. So I'm going to keep my lines curved as well. So they're curving in. So try to think of that while you're working on it. Do you want to keep those lines curved? Would that help it look more realistic? So what's the best way to get the deepest shadows? Remember, you can do the stippling. So again, this is crosshatching. So maybe you want to try stippling. And there is a resource document with these files. So if you're not sure what to do, or you run into one and you're not sure how to shade it, take a look at that resource document with value scale and talks about some different methods that you can use. So think about the best way that you want to do the different ways. And then once you're done, I want you to reflect and look at the different methods. And then I want you to, at the end, put a star next to your favorite. So say this was your favorite. Put a star there. So when you submit it, we can see which one was your favorite that you completed. So this is my method there. So a little stippling. Obviously, I want you to take a little bit longer on this than I am. I'm trying to just getting through it quickly to give you an example. So you'll continue until you've filled in all of the examples on the sheet. Once you've done that, make sure that you've labeled the different methods that you used and make sure that you put a star next to the one that you like the best. Once you have that completed, then you will submit this page to that discussion board. We're going to work on this in class. If you are async, you'll need to complete it outside of the classroom. But everybody will be submitting this to the very same discussion board.